Strong like oh, I've been running from the law.
Wait, are you going?
Yep. Collab episode 2. For real 2.
Episode 2.
Because 1 is uploaded.
1 is uploaded, and as of right now, we've had about 3 viewers.
Dang.
Or listeners, I guess.
3 listens.
3 listens? I think so.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good. Got it up on Spotify this morning.
Spotify.
This is a learning
and YouTube
experience. Yes, and on YouTube, because we are also
not quite sure what's happening with Apple Podcasts yet.
Filming. Yeah, I don't know how that works.
It's pretty confusing.
Maybe I'll figure that out.
But you can just listen to it on YouTube. You know?
Yeah.
Someone could just push YouTube and just put their phone down. It's the same.
Yeah, we're not doing anything. That was LaCroix, by the way. Not
cool.
Having a beer. Okay, so after episode 1 came out this morning from our 3 listens, we've had some suggestions.
Okay.
Would you like to hear them?
Yeah.
Okay. So, suggestion 1, Sean's military career.
Career, that's a stretch of a word.
How we met.
Okay.
Prerequisites for coaching at Prevail. And then favorite taco of all time. Taco diet. We could do a whole taco diet.
Yeah, Prevail taco diet. We could definitely do a full.
Somebody put gym fails.
Gym fails.
Yes, gym fails.
Like things that we failed at in the gym?
I don't know. I should ask her to elaborate.
Or like the funny gym fail videos.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll clarify.
Okay.
And then somebody just asked me some questions.
Okay.
What Enneagram number is Sean?
8.
8. So we're gonna pull that up and read that. If you guys don't know the Enneagram is, I really don't know, but I like reading them.
It's kind of like a personality test.
It's a personality test. There's 9 different numbers associated with the shut it down with the personalities. So Sean says 8, and it says 8 is a challenger or the master. Wow. Sometimes known as a challenger or the protector, type 8s are natural leaders thriving in situations where they can take charge.
I've never felt myself as a natural leader.
Aren't afraid to push boundaries when they believe it's necessary.
100%. Yes, 100%.
Okay. Self-confident, strong, assertive, protective, resourceful, straight-talking, and decisive.
Yeah. That tracks.
That tracks, he says. Basic fear of being harmed or controlled by others.
The second half of that.
He says he's not a hard 8, though.
Well, like, you're a hard 7.
I'm a hard 7. We're going to read 7. Enneagram 7 enthusiasts. They are motivated by a desire to be happy. 7s like to plan enjoyable activities, contribute to the world, and avoid suffering or uncomfortable feelings.
Well, that's kind of, that last part is...
I don't mind suffering.
Right.
But avoid...
Only because of it, that outweighs the FOMO.
Yes. Uncomfortable feelings, meh.
You mean just like feelings?
Yeah. Type 7s enjoy introducing others to new experiences and adventures.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, the dark side of Enneagram 7.
Okay.
The challenge for 7s is that everything stops being exciting after a while. So they constantly need to find
7 minutes.
the stimulation they need. More.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other question. So he's an 8. I'm a 7. Does he show affection?
Yeah. More than you do.
Yes.
But that's changed. I wouldn't say it's inverse, but I've always shown way more affection than you. But recently,
I'm getting more of a softie.
Yeah, I think we were several years in before you were like, I think I love you. I was like, wow, that's awesome.
Wow, that's awesome. We're married. Just kidding. What's one thing that automatically makes him laugh? His own jokes. He got the jokes.
Most of the time. Someone's got to laugh.
Hey, they're funny. Okay, so do you want to go down military career?
I mean, we can kind of go down that a little bit. Well, we talked earlier about how we'll have a couple more of these like origin story, introductory type like podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff about our backgrounds, Prevail's background, kind of how that all those things come together to kind of where we are now, you know,
Yeah,
history. And my military background is definitely part of that.
for sure.
I think military experience, you just never know what that, you know, because people outside of the military have this romantic movie idea of what the military is, and then what it really is just way different.
Okay, so,
You know?
but you love military movies.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know if that's just I don't know if that has anything to do with me being in the military or just the idea of military movies. You know, because I liked them before I was in the military too.
What's the closest movie that seems real life to the military?
I mean, there's military movies are getting way better because there's more and more of them that are just really good storytelling, not just action war movies, which there's a time and place for both, right? But like Marine Corps wise, Jarhead is a really good movie to really see how everything outside of the Hollywood version of Marines is. Because you think Marine Corps and you just think of like some person blowing up buildings and shooting up a bunch of people and, you know, all that like action stuff.
What we see in the movies.
Right. But Jarhead has the majority of that movie is all of the downtime stuff about being in the Marine Corps. All the things about like the ranks and the people around you and the sit and waits and the politics and the like all the stuff that's not the super glamorous part about the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
It does a really good job of showing that side. It's really good.
Okay. I haven't seen it. I don't think. Maybe.
I don't know. Doubt it. I don't know. Danny does not watch many movies.
I'm getting better.
Getting better. Yeah.
I also, when we started dating, we went to the movies all the time. And then I had to tell him at some point. I don't even know when I ended up telling you that I actually hate movies.
It wasn't too much after, because it was pretty soon that we got into all like the big adventure things. So
We had no time for TV.
yeah, well, yeah, and like Prevail was starting too.
Yeah.
So a little bit of the military history.
Okay.
I guess
Well, first question is, when did you go in?
2002.
2002. So
2002. So June 23rd of 2002 is when I got to Marine Corps boot camp.
And this was exactly after graduation. So
It
like
was
a month.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3-4 weeks after graduation from high school.
Okay.
So I joined. The military was never like a big thing in my family. Like, no one was like, you know, I didn't have like, you know, so I wasn't like actively involved with someone from the military growing up, but kind of grew up around an Air Force base, and so there was kind of that there around that, you know, but it wasn't really like a big part. So I never really had this idea of like going into the military.
Okay.
I mean, you know, there's that like you're 10, 12 years old and you're like, yeah, I want to be a pilot in the Air Force, but it's not.
It's different.
That's
Yeah.
not, I mean,
Sure.
I knew as soon as I was in like freshman in high school that was not going to happen because I was not smart enough or disciplined enough or organized enough for any kind of Air Force academy.
So what made you want to go into the military? Not the Marines. We'll get to that in a second. But like military in general.
Well, it wasn't that I didn't want to join. Joining the military was not on the like high on the list. Post 9/11, I wanted to be a firefighter. So my senior year of high school, I was trying to figure out, how do I become a firefighter? What academies do you go to? How does that work? Like all that side of becoming a firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
And then a Marine recruiter talked to me in the library. He's like, have you thought about joining the Marine Corps? I was like, no. What do you want to do? And I was like, firefighting. And he's like, we have firefighters in the Marine Corps, which I didn't know that at all. And one of the guys at the recruiting office station, that was his job before he was a recruiter. And so he's like, come to the office. Well, you can talk to him about what he did and how it was, which is just sales, right? Like
Sales.
you know, lead to prospect to lead to sale to conversion, all that good stuff. Which the Marine Corps is one of the best. Like if you want to study branding, the Marine Corps is has to be one of the most organized brands in the world.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So, so I went into the office and they went on the big spiel and like, yeah, we have aircraft firefighters. So it's not like a regular, like red truck firefighters.
Okay.
It's like aircraft, like helicopters and jets and airplanes and stuff, firefighting, right? Which is big green trucks. And
like you would be in the air or you would be in the truck?
See, that's no, on the ground to where the airplane things land.
Okay.
So on runways, that's where usually the aircraft firefighters live, is on the runways in case something happens to a helicopter or a plane or fuel or something when it comes down. Mm-hmm. So he was like, yeah, all the things that when you go to the academy in the service, the Marine Corps, all the same certifications are what you would get in the civilian academy as well. It's the same. It's literally the same book. Mm. So you could get out of the Marine Corps and then go right into firefighting and have all the education. And I was like, okay. So I wouldn't have to go to school. And I knew that going to school was not going to be a good option for me.
You didn't want to go to college?
No.
What?
No, I knew for 100%. I was like, one, I'm going to be in a ton of debt for sure.
Okay.
Two, I'm not going to show up for anything, and I'm going to fail most of my classes.
Why wouldn't you have showed up for anything?
Because I'm not disciplined or organized at all. I knew that would not be good. I knew that college would be a huge waste of my time.
Okay. Okay, so we knew college was out.
For sure.
So then he said, you do all this in the Marines during your time, and then when you get out, you will be able to be a firefighter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is, I mean, of course, recruiters lie, right? Good salesman. Which isn't exactly true, but it's close.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can get a DOD job because you have all the DOD credentials. But if I were to become a firefighter in Edmond, I'd still have to go through all the same academy stuff that the Edmond Fire Academy would want you to go through.
Dang.
So technically, you could just do that. Well, but depending on where you live, they require a college degree. Okay. Depending where lots of variables there. Like kind of becoming a cop, you have to have a college degree. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, so he was like, cool, you go to school, and then, you do that job. But the school was every branch. So I was like, I can go to any branch I want, and it's the same school. It's the same, everything's the same. You get out the exact same, Yeah. And he was like, yeah, you could. And he's like, or, if you want to be the best. I was like, oh, well, you got me there. You're right. Yeah, he's like, do you want the toughest one? Do you want to... what do you want to say? Do you want to say that I was a Marine firefighter or I was a firefighter in the whatever branch? And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. And I was like, cool, that sounds great. Let's do it. So I went and took my test, my ASVAB test to see if I was smart enough, and then did a physical test to see if I could even get close to like going to boot camp.
And that was before you turned 18? Yeah.
So that was all when I was like 17. So and then I was already 18.
Okay.
So I was 18 my senior year of high school because I started school late. So I joined December, January of my senior year.
Before you graduated?
Yep.
And you didn't tell anybody?
Well, no, I did it, and then I came home and I said, hey, I'm gonna join the Marine Corps.
Hey, I'm going to join, or I joined?
I mean...
Because you had already signed.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I'm sure that everyone else does. I'm sure I talked to somebody about it. I doubt I would have made like a hasty decision.
You don't think?
I don't think so. I probably would have said something to someone. But I didn't really... I probably got like a few opinions from different people. And then I just went and made the decision myself. Oh. It wasn't like I was waiting on approval from everyone to get it done.
I would have been asking everyone, like, do you think I should? What do you think I should do?
No.
You didn't do that?
No. And everyone, like, as soon as it was out that I did, everyone was like, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course he's going to go into the Marine Corps.
Okay. So you go in.
Yep.
And you were in for 4 years.
Yep, 2002 to 2006, deployed in 2004. And then came home for a year and a half. Started to attempt to live a normal civilian life. Got a job, like, I was a waiter, bartender at a restaurant, started going to school, getting a business degree, barely. And I got involuntary recalled for another full year of active duty from 08 to 09. Nuts. They were like, you're coming back. I don't want to. Too bad. You're going to deploy again. So I did, that was a winter deployment in Iraq in 08 to 09.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay, so military, the Marines in general, is still a huge part of Prevail and kind of how you run things. Has influence.
Huge influence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the things that, yeah.
How? Or why, I guess?
Yeah, like what are the things that stuck out the most while you were there? And if you knew, if you were wanting to open Prevail at the time when you were there, were you already thinking about things that you were wanting to put in place? Or was it when you started running Prevail that year one that you knew that these things that you were going to take away from the Marines? Or is it just a constant?
No, there was definitely never anything that was known or like tracked like that. Like there was a, I think when I was in the service, there was definitely like, I want to have my own gym. Right. Okay. But that's kind of like a lot of people say that. But I knew then that especially, so there was my time during the first 4 years, came home, going to school for business. And I was like, I don't really know what I'm going to do, but I do know that learning business is probably going to be my best bet. I thought about going into kinesiology, thought about going like that physical side as well, because I'd been always enjoyed working out. I'd been working out in the gym since I was like 14 years old. And when I came home, when I got recalled, I went back. So my 5th year in the Marine Corps, I was 25, had been a civilian. That was definitely when I got recalled that I was like, okay, I'm becoming a personal trainer. I'm going to have my own thing. And it was also that 5th year in that I dealt with like probably the most amount of politics that I ever felt. And because I'd had that sense of like when you're in and you're 19, you just listen to everybody and you're like, whatever, this is the way it is. This is how leaders are. This is how people in charge are. This is how you're supposed to react. It was all the stuff that was trained. You're in the civilian world for a year and a half, and then you go back in, and now you get to see the Marine Corps through a whole different perspective. Because now you know what the civilian world feels like. But when you're like, I left Marine Corps boot camp, I left like 3 weeks after graduating high school. Yeah. So I didn't really know because I hadn't been an adult at all in like the regular world. Sure. And I knew then that I was like, yeah, I can't. There's a little piece of me and several people that I was in that got recalled with are like, you know what, maybe I give this another go. Like maybe I re-up and maybe this is a place for me. Maybe I made a bad decision because I was younger then, or maybe, you know. And I got back in, and it wasn't like 2 weeks. I was like, fuck this place. Get me out of here.
That's but explicit.
But I definitely knew then. I was like, I can't have a boss. Okay. I was like, I can't. I was dealing with like people that said that they were leaders and what they thought leadership was. I was like, I can't do this. Okay. Like, I'm going to have to be in charge of myself. Okay. Because I can't do it.
So, from the military, or from the Marines. Yeah. To now inside of Prevail. Yeah. What are the top things that like...
Carryover or things learned?
Yes, carryover. That's a good word.
Well, I think there's definitely a lot of misconceptions about people in the service. They think that like they're highly disciplined, they're highly motivated, they're up at 3 a.m., they're running around circles all the time, they're non-emotional, like all that piece, right? You would have been great in the Marine Corps.
I'm like, that sounds like me.
But that's not how it was.
Okay.
Right? I mean, definitely not for me. From the carryover from the Marine Corps until what is Prevail, you know, one of the hardest things about the Marine Corps was how organized everything was. Because I'm not an organized person naturally. I'm not a disciplined person naturally. I'm a pretty lazy person naturally. So the Marine Corps taught me a lot about organization, and it was frustrating. Mm-hmm. It was hard for me to become organized and to be in organized patterns. But I started to learn how important redundancy, systems, processes were. And with speed and with simplification and like execution, everything was.
For such like a big machine.
Yeah, because the Marine Corps runs completely off of systems.
Sure.
Like the entire thing is systems on top of systems on top of systems, and repeats and redundancies everywhere, and repeatabilities, and everything's broken down to the simplest form because it needs to be absorbed quickly and learned quickly. Because when it comes down to like becoming what the Marine Corps is and the jobs inside of it, like there's a reason that the Marine Corps has this reputation of being the best in executing. It's because there's no frills, there's no fluff, there's just hard execution. So I learned a lot about all the way down to detailed organization, which is still super hard for me, but it's something that's carried over into the studio.
It's super hard for you at home, but it's not super hard for you at the studio.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, but it makes sense because I learned how to be super organized at work.
Sure.
And I didn't have to become work never ended, but I had a really hard time with the things that were in my own control with organization. With room inspections, with uniform inspections, and all that stuff was like super difficult for me because I just didn't care. Yeah. Yeah. But then I learned from the Marine Corps that like, oh, if you always know that pair of boots is in that 1-inch hose is on the left compartment on the second one down, but the 2-inch hose is on the right compartment on the third one down. Like when you learn that, the speed and the errors decrease so much. Which
is why at Prevail, the band systems and the organization and where the bells are at.
If you've ever been in the studio, currently at its form right now is the most organized the studio has ever been.
Yeah, if you were in the studio 5 years ago and then all the transitions it's made until now, that's because those are all the things that are going through your head.
All the time.
Basically.
Yeah, it's easy for me, like when we moved into this location, there were so many things that like I walked into an empty shell and there was nothing in there. Half the concrete was gone. It was just dirt, no walls. And I could visualize where everything needed to be. I could visualize the organization. I could visualize everything, the racks, the patterns, the repeat, everything. So environment definitely dictates a little bit of that organization. And it's also an evolution of having like the bandwidth to create more and more organization and system and structure and pieces and process.
Yeah, it's bigger too.
And there's more space and there's just more bandwidth to like get stuff done now than it was before. But that's definitely something huge from the Marine Corps.
Okay, so organization is probably one of the tops.
Yeah, up there. What?
What do you think is the next?
The next height, like the carryover thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably a belief system would probably be the next one.
Is like higher up belief system?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah. Earlier, talked about the Marine Corps and branding, right? The branding of that belief system happens before you're in and during you're in and after. Like it doesn't really like lit up, but the emphasis on mission accomplishment and get things done no matter what, A to C, fuck B, like that was like over and over and over again. There was never a time in the Marine Corps they were like, well, I don't know, maybe you couldn't do that. Like that never happened, ever.
Which is also crazy how organized and system they were. But also A to C, B doesn't matter. Yeah,
whenever someone's like asking about a military career, there's really not a whole lot to like talk about. Well, 5 years is a long time.
It's a long time.
But the vast majority of that time, especially when you're new into you're so young and like lower ranked, all you're doing is executing orders.
Sure.
So it's just execute over and over and over and over and over again. The Marine Corps is also like what you see from like this the romantic idea of like this super disciplined, like all the stuff, this little like perfect.
Well, it's like when you think about it though, there's some like big time military people that we like follow and we hear talking all the time. Yeah. Those
are the top 1% of guys,
right,
for sure.
But they still have the loudest voice right now.
Yeah, so that's what they think that the vast majority of people, but that's definitely not how it is at all. I mean, all the processes and organizations and systems and redundancies and know what the person to the left of you doing, know how to do the person of the right, like all that stuff. That was what that's what leads the Marine Corps. But this ethos, this kind of like the real pulse of the Marine Corps is that everyone, there's all a bunch of jokes about like eating crayons and being, you know, like this, but it's kind of a joke because the real pulse of the Marine Corps is everyone, they're all heathens.
They're just getting shit done.
Yeah, but they're also like nuts. Like anytime you meet, like if you meet someone, you're like, oh yeah, my brother was in the Marine Corps, and like, oh, he's kind of nuts, huh? And they're like, yeah, like everyone has this little bit of like chip from like being in the Marine Corps. Like, what's wrong with that person? Because you kind of have to have something wrong with you to begin with, to go, oh yeah, let me voluntarily sign up for the worst one.
Sure. Just
so I can say I'm the best one. You're obviously, your brain is already screwed up to begin with, right?
Yeah.
But then you get in, and it's just a bunch of degenerates. You know, but the headspace, the best thing about the Marine Corps is the headspace is anything is possible.
Yeah.
There's nothing off the table that's not possible.
There's nothing off the table, and I mean, we talk about this a lot personally, but like messy action is better than no action.
Yeah.
And it's almost just like try to do whatever you can do.
Yeah, but there's no like when someone says like try to do something.
The Marines is not trying.
No, you never hear the word try.
We're just gonna get it done.
It is already done. Right. Which is a lot like your Moab 240 experience, right?
Right.
Oh, I'm going to try to do this thing. No, it was already finished. It was already done.
It was already
right?
finished, yeah.
That's the headspace.
Yeah.
It's like it's already done.
Yeah.
There's this meme, like, you know where the mouse is in the maze and has to get to the cheese? Mm-hmm. There's a picture, and it's corner to corner, and it's eaten through all the walls to get to the cheese in a direct straight line. And it's like Marine Corps. It's a very simple image to go, okay. Mm-hmm. Like this idea, this funny cliche, like business development, think outside the box, you know, which is bullshit. The Marine Corps is like, we're going to destroy the box. Who cares that there's a box? This is going to happen. That type of headspace, ethos, mindset was definitely the biggest carryover. And then I think the next one would be gratitude from a sense of like suffering.
Okay.
Because there's so much. You talked about like what makes Sean laugh. Like I laugh at all sorts of things.
He does.
All the time.
Yeah.
And that's something that, I mean, I laughed before the Marine Corps for sure. But you get to a point in misery and suffering that all you have left is humor. Which is also why, like, Sister and Mike, like the three of us, our jokes, like this dark sense of humor, it all comes from being in the Marine Corps. Because we find so many inappropriate things funny. Right. Because that's what we lived. Yeah. Year after year after year. Everything became funny because that was the last thing left. So that type of energy has served me well with running Prevail, because it's kind of like it doesn't matter. It just has to happen. Right. Just go.
Just getting it done.
Just go. Yeah. Execute.
It might not follow the roadmap. It's fine.
No, and I think the other thing too is like, yeah, that you can put out a plan and you can have some principles in line, but the number one thing is effort. And then there is like the word like try and the word quit, never spoken in the Marine Corps. Never. Those words were never, you never heard those words in the Marine Corps.
Which we have read, and now we suggest people reading Extreme Ownership. Yeah. Which kind of goes along with that as well. Like there's no try and there's no quit. Yeah. But there's also, you're just like taking ownership. So it makes all that like trying and quitting kind of disappear anyways, because if you're in control.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that's the one thing you're in control of, is not quitting. Right. Like you can't really control the outcome, but you can definitely control whether or not you're putting effort forward or not.
The amount of effort you're putting in.
Right.
Yeah. Or any.
Yeah. Right. And so that's like the military experience was learning suffering, learning misery, learning effort, learning organization, definitely carried over.
Organization, leadership.
And then
you touched on that.
Yeah. I think I learned more about what bad leadership was than good leadership. especially in the second time that I went in, and maybe my perception was different because I had been in the civilian world a little bit older.
And it's like you didn't really, I mean, you had to be there because they made you go back, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like you had already done your
Yeah, the first time, there's so many
time.
rules you have to play by
Uh-huh.
to stay out of trouble, which I should say stay out of trouble for a Marine is a stretch of a word. It's just staying out of how much trouble.
Sure.
Right? You're going to get in trouble.
Okay.
Because that's just the way it is, right? You're going to get yelled at a bunch because you jacked things up.
I would hate people yelling at me all the time.
You get over it because that's just part of the process. So something's happening with our video recording. We can, oh, here we go. We're still recording. So the Marine Corps leadership,
Yes.
bad leadership.
Bad leadership.
Yeah. I think I just learned so many, the difference between leading with respect, leading with force versus leading with power versus leading with education. There's a lot of times that people would tell you to do things, and not that there was, I mean, this is kind of hard to explain. The Marine Corps, you don't have a place to say your opinion, and that's how the system's built. Because if you were to wait for opinion, you would never get anything done.
Mm-hmm.
There's no time for opinions.
Sure.
There's execution, right?
Just gotta go.
But there was also times to when there was something would happen, and it would be like the multiple time it's happened, or there would be the capacity for potential for this exploration of other ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and there was zero tolerance, or there was just no room for it. So people would say, "Go do blank and blank," and you couldn't even ask why. But if you could ask why, that person couldn't give you a good answer. Sometimes they could, and the good leaders could, or the good leaders would lead with that idea. Like, not that there was definitely no hold handling or coddling or any kind of like, well, I'm gonna like tell you how it's gonna go and why we're gonna do it. But there would definitely be great leadership to where you would say like, okay, we're gonna execute A. We have to get to C. Here's a few options for B. This is why you can't do D or F because you're going to fuck up. And you're like, all right, okay. Tracking, execute. But the other leaders who would be like, nope, you're going to go to C. And like, yeah, what would it be? And like, fuck you, do C. I'm like, what? All right, okay.
Language.
Yeah. So there was a lot of that. And I think the people, having people in charge of you, that the sole reason that they were in charge is because they'd been around longer.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Was like definitely a part where I was like, just because someone has been around longer doesn't mean that they know better. Doesn't mean that they're like more knowledgeable or they have better experience or they have better capacity or aptitude to lead others.
Sure.
And there was a whole bunch of that. There's a whole bunch of that to when I was in, I was like, okay, noted. That's not how you treat people. Noted. That's not how you lead people. Noted. That's the difference between leading with force or leading with fear compared to leading with power or leading with empowerment to someone else. But fine line between that being like, at the same time, you have to be in charge.
Sure.
So the Marine Corps is very good about, you're very clear about who's in charge and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
But there was things about that I also knew when I went back for the second time, being a civilian and being back in the Marine Corps. I was like, I can't have any bosses. Like I can't. At that point in my life, I was like 25 years old, and this is the second time I've been in the Marine Corps, and I was like, I can't. I don't know what it is, but I can't handle.
People bossing you.
I can't handle people telling me what to do. Like it's something I don't know why my brain. So I knew then, I was like, I got to put myself in a position to where I'm in control of the outcome.
But is it really I can't handle people? I think it's probably their delivery. And their maybe non-good ideas.
Yeah, quite a bit of it's delivery.
It's probably mostly delivery.
But at the same time, I knew that part of that, who knows, if I would have understood that I was an Enneagram 8 or this type of personality well before the Marine Corps, I probably could have navigated through those situations a little better with a little more temperament.
Sure.
And a little more like less anxiety about it all before just getting really wrapped up in it all the time. But I also knew that I wanted to control the direction of the things that were going. And I knew that if I ever had bosses that I couldn't control that direction.
Sure.
And even though I had a boss, I had many bosses and lots of jobs that I had. I mean,
it's technically you still kind of have a boss.
well, the irony is like that you talk about business owners talk about this, entrepreneurs, or whoever you want to talk about, business owners, whatever that means. But if you have, one, instructors and staff, and then students, a service-based business, like I don't want a boss. I'm like, well, I have. Let's see. Well, so Prevail's got 176 students and 7 instructors, so I've got 186 bosses. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like you're not really in charge, but you're kind of in charge, at least in the direction that the thing goes.
Yeah.
But you kind of lose that. I think that might just be something from age.
Probably.
But I
wasn't
the greatest employee, but I did my job. I might have stretched the lines a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure you
more than a handful of times, but it was only because I was stretching the lines for the improvement. It wasn't just for the sake of like making things, like breaking things. Sure. I was like, no, this could be better. Why aren't we doing this to make that better? Mm-hmm. And then bosses always got in the way because they had some other ideas or some other goals. But if those bosses would have told me, hey, that's not a good idea because we're going to go Y and you're going to want, that's making us go to X. We don't want to go to Y. Y is our goal. I've been like, oh, well, okay, cool. Our goals don't align, but I understand the goal. I understand the point. I understand where we're going.
Of your business.
And the majority of the leaders don't do that.
Sure.
And I also held my tongue quite a bit. I mean, I was a regular personal trainer for like 4 years.
Do we want to go down that?
No, I don't think we need to go down that. 36 minutes in, no one's going to want to listen to all the Prevail stuff.
I mean, that could definitely be a different episode.
Yeah.
On like how you got
started. Military experience. I don't know what else.
Military experience.
They want to like, I mean, I think about here's the best thing about the Marine Corps is it's the people that you get to meet and the people that you get to grow up inside of the Marine Corps with. And those shared experiences. That's the best part about the Marine Corps. You talk to every single person that's ever been, I don't know about the other branches, but I do know that in the Marine Corps specifically, you talk to anyone and that's what they're all going to say.
Yeah, and you still get people like saying hi and stuff because you're tattooed.
Oh, that's like a... That's a different part.
That is part of the with people.
That is the Marine Corps brand. Again, like
if they were in it.
The Marine Corps brand is really good about that because the words they say, the once a Marine, always a Marine, is that you're out of the Marine Corps, but you're still a Marine because you earn the title of that identity of being a Marine. So anyone you ever meet who is one, you're already connected because that's a very unique experience that only you shared and other people don't share. So there's that connection there. But I meant like the time that the days and hours and weeks and months and years you spend with someone else, all that time is really amazing. And all the nonsense outside of regular work hours, whatever, that's a weird word, right. Work hours when you're in the service, but lots of,
it's all the time.
Yeah. Lots of it's like, going to college, but you go to war instead.
Going to college, but going to war instead.
Yeah.
It sounds terrifying.
Nah.
Nah.
No, we were excited when we got orders. There was only one guy in our entire unit that was not excited.
Because it was like a mission?
That's not the word, a mission.
Signed up to
well,
like a...
You we joined...
Right.
The vast majority of us, when I was active duty in the Marine Corps in 29 Palms, I'd been in for like a year and a half. We all joined, 90% of us joined post 9/11, the younger ranks. So we knew we were joining because we were at war. We wanted to join the Marine Corps to go to war.
Right.
And we'd spent a year and a half training.
That's what I meant by like mission.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
Like
well, yeah.
Whatever word you want to use.
Yeah.
Like.
Right. So they were like, hey guys, the unit, we have orders to deploy.
Yeah.
We're like, yes, absolutely. Let's go do this. This is what we train for.
Right.
When can we leave?
Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Yep. So, is there anything? I don't know what else about the Marine Corps. When someone says Marine Corps career, I didn't really have a Marine Corps career.
I'm like, I don't know what else to ask because I wasn't in the Marines, so.
You would have done good in the Marine Corps.
Oh, thank you. I would have hated people yelling at me.
Nah.
Man.
People say that, but that you get over it. You just understand they're yelling for a reason. They're yelling because they're trying to get
Anger
no
out of you?
no
Because I would have been angry,
no,
maybe.
because they're trying to create discipline. So you know that the end goal of the yelling is for a reason, and it decreases year after year after year. It decreases unless you get more and more in trouble. Then it doesn't really decrease.
Then it doesn't decrease. Well, I think it's good that they asked about your career in the military, because it does have such an impact in Prevail still, and things are so. The things that did carry over are pretty strong in the brand and how we do
there's
things.
still there's quite a bit of like the physical organization of the studio and the system and the processes. That's a carryover, and there's still some of like the Prevail attitude, the Prevail language is, you know, the whole be the chaos,
against
like
the grain,
right, this not really the underdog tone, but
opportunity,
this kind of like don't really care what's ahead of me, we're going to smash these walls no matter what type of like headspace. That's a carryover from the Marine Corps for sure. Which serves the brand, you know, because who doesn't, no one ever says, I wouldn't want to be a Marine. A lot of people say I don't want to be in the Marine Corps.
Right.
But who's ever going to say, like, I would hate the fact if I were to tell people
that I was a Marine.
Yeah, I was embarrassed to be a Marine. Like, no one's going to say that.
Said no one's going to say that. Right.
Yeah, but that's pretty, that's definitely unique.
Yeah.
So military career wasn't much of a career. It was me learning I didn't want to be in the military.
I mean, that's 5 years, though.
5 years is a long time.
5 years of your life. That's what you say all the time, like,
say what?
Take 5 years off of my age.
Oh, when
how
people
old
say,
I am.
when people ask how old,
Yeah.
Which is funny because they say, like, well, I'm 41, but take 5 years off because of the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
But then you also add 5 years back because of the wear and tear and stress on your body. You're not really,
right.
You know, like all the wear and tear from your age is multiplied from those years, which you saw. You saw guys that were 20 years in, they were like my age now. And looking back, I'm like, those guys, I thought those guys were in their 60s because there was so much stress.
Dang, that's nuts.
Yeah. Stressful environment.
Kind of like how they show like the president before and after service.
Yeah.
Not the same, but the same.
Stress.
Yeah.
Stress.
Yeah.
Lots of stress. It's okay. It's good for you.
Yeah, stress doesn't have to be, I should share that earlier. Stress doesn't always have to be a negative thing.
No.
No.
So military career. There we go. We can kind of like, I guess, wrap this up. I don't know if there's anything. I mean, from the military career, did that have an influence on how you perceived me originally?
Like
Did you already know?
Like when we.
How early did you know that I was in the Marine Corps? From us dating.
Probably pretty early.
But it was just like an asterisk. I was like, oh, whatever. It's just, that was cool too. Cool, he was in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I didn't have any like. I mean, my brother was in the Air Force, so the only thing that I really knew was that he was deployed and stationed somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have any like.
You didn't have any misconceptions or any kind of like.
No.
You're like, oh well, because he was a Marine, blank and blank.
Yeah. No, I didn't. Because I didn't have it. I just didn't have any like references. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there you go. People ask me all the time, like, not all the time. Some people ask about the Marine Corps and like, would you do it again?
Would you do it again?
Yes.
You would?
Yeah. If I were to talk to 18-year-old Sean, I'd be like, you should go to the Marine Corps.
Oh, okay. I was like, you would go back right now?
Yeah, that was a pretty important part to where.
Sure.
Could I have learned all the lessons I learned in a shorter amount of time than 5 years? Probably. Like, I don't think I really needed to spend 5 years in the Marine Corps to get that out of it. But it was definitely pretty important. Because if I wouldn't have gone to the Marine Corps, it would have been a mess. I would have done I can't imagine where I would have ended up.
Who knows about Prevail?
Who knows? I seriously doubt a successful Prevail would have happened. For sure. Because barely made it with the half a level of organization that I did acquire.
It's very organized now in the studio.
Almost. It's getting there. It's getting closer.
It's getting closer.
But I say that every 6 months for about 9 years now.
And then he goes and measures a bunch of things and walks around with.
I do have more ideas. It's all about the experience.
It is all about the experience. I understand that.
It can always be improved.
Yes.
The product and the experience can be
That's
improved.
part of it. It's never done. Okay.
No, it could always be better. Because that's the big thing is everything we've built inside the studio, I've always thought.
It could be better.
No, well, it could be better. But the second part was, how would someone else be able to do this quickly? You know what I'm saying? Like, this all has to be done so that outside of my brain, anyone can do it.
Oh, right. Yes.
Because of that sense of redundancy.
Yes.
Like that piece of it's
Somebody
never
else
been like, well,
has
I'll
to-
just let this happen. Let's let it live here in my brain and it'll be okay. It'll be all right.
Somebody else to be able to execute as well.
Yeah, that's always been in the back of my head is like, well, someone else is going to have to be able to execute on this.
And
They're not going to know what to, the simpler it is and the
simpler
easier
it
it is to find, the
Yeah.
faster that person can execute on it.
Yeah, for sure. And the smoother it'll be.
Right. It's 46 minutes. Okay.
We got to get a standing desk because I can't.
Got a standing desk. This is a
Can't
long
be
time to sit
sitting
here. There you go. Anything else about the Marine Corps? I guess. Final note, November 10th is the Marine Corps birthday. It's one of the, we're the only branch who celebrates every year their birthday,
Yes.
which is a strange thing. More branding, right? Genius branding.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a fun, like, it's always your birthday on November 10th. So if you see
Yes.
if you see another Marine on
Yes.
November 10th, you say happy birthday. So if you see someone wearing a Marine Corps shirt,
Mm-hmm.
or you see a Marine Corps tattoo and it's November 10th, you tell
Mhm.
them happy birthday and they'll go, thank you.
Yeah.
Even though it's not their real life birthday, but it's like their birthday.
I'll never forget when I worked at Ackerman and the head photographer there, Michael,
Mm-hmm.
he was a Marine.
Yep.
And he knew, I think he shook your hand. You dropped me off. I was traveling out of town with him.
Yeah, I met him once.
And he saw your tattoo or something.
Mhm.
And he said, thank you for your service and
Mhm.
something. And so I was with him on your birthday, November 10th. And he was like, be sure to tell him happy birthday first thing in the morning. And he loved it. He loved it.
Who told you? I told
You
you?
told
I
me.
told, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Sean
Yeah.
texted me
Yeah,
that
tell him.
morning.
Right.
Tell Michael happy birthday. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And he loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was really excited.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a hard time shutting these down.
We're going to shut
We
this
don't-
down. I
we
don't
don't-
really know how else to
We don't have a
shut
closeout.
it down. So
thingy.
bye. Okay. If you have
Suggestions, topics. If you have storytelling, if you have,
anything really,
anything, whatever. We're just going to chit chat
we're going to chit chat.
about whatever it is. So if you want to get like super sciencey, super dorky about stuff, super fitnessy about things, topics, we can dive into that.
Yeah. At some point, we're going to have to do some like nutrition and strength stuff because it's what we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to knock out 2 of these a week.
Here you go. Oh,
So this
yeah,
is
and
one of
comment
the
below.
week.
So if you're on the
Yes.
YouTube and you watch it,
If you're
right?
on YouTube.
Comment below any things you have, any things for future or any questions about this one.
Yes.
Or send Danny a message at Danny_Prevail. I saw that Cousin Nathan had commented on the YouTube channel and he was very curious about what happened to the roll cage in the Jeep.
Who was?
Cousin Nathan, he commented on the YouTube video.
Yes.
Yeah. So update.
I
Cousin
forgot
Nathan.
to link the YouTube video somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's on Instagram.
Oh,
Well,
did
I
you
don't know if it's on
link
stories or not.
Oh,
I think I
okay.
did.
Okay.
But you can also just YouTube Prevail Strength.
Yeah.
It's on like the regular
It'll be
channel.
the top one. Maybe I can put it in like a category.
Yeah. To get the fuel tank out of the Jeep, it's underneath the driver's seat. It's underneath. There's a roll cage, and the bars go across the roll cage to where the seat will attach. The fuel tank is underneath that. Right. So you have to move. You have to pick up the roll cage out of the Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
I did that with the cherry picker, so it floated off the, not like way, I didn't even remove it 100%. It's like a foot higher than it would be inside the Jeep.
Okay.
to get the fuel tank in.
Okay.
Okay. The transmission, the hole in the floor, it needs a very special cover that I built to go around that. Well, all these things touch.
Okay.
So I put the cover in there, and I had the roll cage lifted up in the cherry picker floating in the air.
Uh-huh.
And I try to put the fuel tank in, and it doesn't fit because it's hitting the cover.
Yeah.
It took me, well, I'm saying that little thing took me half an hour to figure out.
I hate it.
All the back and forth and the straps and the things and the moving and the stuff.
I would be so frustrated.
Yeah. So I took the cover out, which took a while to figure out because it's like a puzzle piece.
Okay.
And I spent multiple hours cutting and rebuilding it.
Okay.
So now the fuel tank is in, the cover is in, and there's room for both of them. The roll cage is still floating up in the air because I need to finish the cover, finish welding it, painting it. Then I can put the fuel tank in, the cover in, and then put the roll cage back down.
All right, we're shutting it down.
That's the update on the Jeep.
Just call Cousin Nathan.
He wanted to know. He'll see you on the second episode.
Okay. And we're shutting it down.